MLP series review, season 1, episode 2, The Elements of Harmony, part 2. For some weird reason, the first one was named Mare in the Moon, and the second is named The Elements of Harmony. I don't know. YouTube did it. I'm just naming it based on what YouTube names it. And we'll start from there. So we do get magic from Nightmare right now that is lightning control. And if Luna retains magic, or that is Luna's magic, then yes, she definitely does have lightning control because she uses a bunch of lightning in Luna Eclipsed, which is pretty cool. I didn't know she had lightning powers. That's flipping awesome. However, one thing that's nonsensical is Nightmare defeated, well, would have defeated Celestia minus the elements. Why does she run from some guards? She could have just wrecked everyone's buns in this scene, including the elements, before they realized they were the elements, and just done whatever she wanted to. It's really strange that she retreats. Wait a second. Now they're saying that the sixth element is unknown. Were the five elements prior used? That's why. But it just doesn't. If there were five elements used on Nightmare Moon and five elements used on Discord when Celestia and Luna used the elements, then Twilight also got added as the sixth element, and she used it on Discord, and it still did the same thing. It just put him into stone. Why wouldn't it have done something more powerful? It makes sense with Nightmare. The first one was like, oh, it sent her to the moon. The second one purified her. But then Discord, why is it the same spell? That, of course, is all based on the fact that I know the future. Again, if this was the first episode I saw, I'd just take everything at face value, and it would still be really, really good right now. It's still really good regardless, but it makes me question certain things that happen later. We get a lot of Applejack just being really, really a really good character. She's always the most understanding, the most, I was going to say the most kind. She is most of the time because she's just so honest and loyal, and she's like a personification of almost all the elements all the time too. Like Applejack is a really pure character, and I like her a lot. We get a scene with Twilight figuring out about the elements and that they have to go to the Everfree Forest. And she wants to go alone, but everyone's gonna go with her. And I find it kind of weird that Fluttershy is not scared to go into the Everfree at all. I don't think that's ever established, but it's established that she's scared all the time. So I would be kind of under the impression that she'd be afraid to go into the Everfree, but I guess not. We get Applejack's Harmony scene. Nightmare Moon cracks the ground, and everybody almost falls to their death. So she's definitely trying to murder them. She convinces Twilight to let go by telling the truth, and Twilight is saved by Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. It's an okay scene. It kind of just you could have just said, "Oh, if I let you go, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy will catch you. It's fine." It's why it's not that good of a scene, because it's just like suspension of disbelief. Next, we get Fluttershy's Harmony scene, and it's a fight against a Manticore. And it's I really like the fact that Rarity bucks the Manticore right in the face. She just dodges a claw swipe and kicks him right in the face. And it's Rarity, so she's like the girly one, but she's still shown to be plenty tough herself. I really like that. Rainbow gets destroyed by the Manticore. He slaps her with his tail, and she just is like completely just decked on the floor. We also get the first indication that Fluttershy is capable of not being quiet. I don't know why everybody makes Fluttershy severely quiet all the time when it's shown that she really yells a lot. Like she yells "wait" on this part. She yells "you're going to love me" on the part where on the Gala episode. She is cheering for Dash on the Sonic Rainboom episode. Like, Fluttershy can be very loud. She's not quiet all the time. But it's a good scene. She's kind to the Manticore when everyone else is trying to fight it, and it works. It's good for her element. Next, we get Pinky's element harmony scene. Giggle at the Ghosty. which is one of the best songs in the series again, and it really establishes how good Daniel Ingram, I believe, how good his music was going to be. Uh, this scene is probably the best harmony scene out of all of them, other than Twilight's, because obviously Twilight's is going to be the best because it's going to involve everyone else's harmony scene. But this scene and this song are top notch. Then we get Rarity's harmony scene, and I think it has a lot less impact because Rarity hasn't been established how much she cares about just herself, like her own mane and her own coat and stuff. If you had a scene like this in like episode 30 or 40, it's like, oh my goodness, Rarity cut off her own tail. That's crazy. She'd never do that unless she was like, that's not something that she would normally do. The fact that it happens this early doesn't really have impact, but with hindsight, yeah, it's crazy generous what she does, and it's a good scene. Finally, as far as the five known elements, we get Rainbow Dash's harmony scene. She gets tempted by the shadow bolts, and she doesn't buy into it, and she goes and helps the main six. It's a good scene. Shows loyalty. Her element makes sense. One thing I wanted to talk about was how de-escalating the the attacks from Nightmare Moon become, and how like low they are. They start so drastic, trying to murder them. Look, Twilight's going to fall off a cliff. There, she's trying to kill them. And then the second one, oh, okay, she's sending a manticore to murder them. It's like, okay, so we've got murder, murder. What's the third thing? And it's like, oh, scary trees. Scary trees? Yeah, they're just scary trees. They're just, hopefully you'll get scared and leave. Okay, that's way less threatening than murder, but what do you got next? Can't cross this river if you can't get past the river. Oh, so just a block? Yeah. Well, if you can't get past the block, you can't get to me. Okay, and then the last one? I'm gonna try and make one of you defect. Okay, why wouldn't you just try to murder her? Like it should have gone in the opposite direction. I think it should have been Rainbow Dash was tempted to try and leave, and then tried to block their way, and then tried to scare them from going because even if they had a way to go, they'd be scared, and then murder. That would have been an escalation of that would have been a sensical escalation of Nightmare Moon's attacks, but they decided to go the opposite way, which, hey, what can I say? So we get a really convenient separation scene. They find the elements, five of the elements, and Twilight's gonna try and spark them to make the sixth appear. And Applejack is like, she needs to concentrate. Let's leave the room. Oh, couldn't just stand quietly, but okay. Well, Nightmare comes and teleports the elements away, and when she teleports them away, Twilight jumps into her teleportation spell, and they get separated. So Twilight charges Nightmare, and for some reason, Nightmare's like, "Yep, I'm charging back." She could have just been like, "I'm going to blast you with a huge magical blast," because Nightmare is really strong. But she's like, "I'll charge you back." I guess they were horn dueling. I guess horn duels are on. You can't. You have to accept them. It's like one of those things. Um, and Twilight teleports, which I wasn't sure if she could do at this point in this series, but then it goes back to her almost falling off the cliff, and then I go, Twilight, why didn't you just teleport to the ground? You you were falling, and you could have just teleported to the ground and been fine. Um, and she sparks the elements, but nothing happens. And Nightmare Moon breaks them, even though I guess they're just the old, not real elements. Nightmare says you'll never see your princess. I'm assuming she. It would make sense more if she was talking about Luna. That actually makes sense if she's referring to Luna. But if she's referring to Celestia, why? I don't feel like. I don't feel like Celestia got captured. It actually makes perfect sense if she's talking about Luna, though. Woo! And before I start crying, I don't want to cry. This episode always gets me teary-eyed. The spark happens in Twilight's eye, and then Twilight talks about the main six and how they're the elements, and I always just get too emotional on this part, so I'll probably just say that this scene is incredibly perfect, like 10 out of 10 stars. It's such a good scene. Just for reference, the broken elements do go to their bearers, and they reform into the necklaces and the crown. Nightmare gets rainbow tornadoed, and I gotta say that the part where it shows all of them and the magic is coming out of their elements, and Twilight opens her eyes and they're glowing, and it's just pure, overwhelming light. That scene is so cool. It's such a good visual. And then we get the Celestial reveal. It's her first appearance in the series, and she just looks. Her first appearance is like Luna's. She's like perfect. Her design is so amazing. She's like the antithesis. Antithesis, I think, is a correct usage. I just like the word. I wanted to use it of Luna instead of being dark and beautiful. She's bright and beautiful. We get the Celestia knew all along, which is a really good trait she has. I said for the first like 30 episodes, she did everything the way she did because she knew what was happening. And then in the Chrysalis episode, she's like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just a big dork and I shoot laser beams out of my horn and get wrecked. Unfortunately. We get pre-powered Luna, where she doesn't have her ethereal mane or anything, but she's still cute and it's still Luna. I still love her. Unfortunately, we don't get an apology from Celestia, placing the blame squarely on Luna again. But I'm not gonna take away anything from this scene. This whole scene from when Twilight first starts talking about the elements and the defeat of Nightmare Moon and Celestia and Luna making up. It's just perfect. It's just a perfect scene. We get what is effectively a party. Celestia and Luna go to Ponyville, and the ponies are actually really nice to Luna, but it's probably because Luna doesn't have her power yet. And this Luna with no power is completely what is the word? She's not scary at all. She just looks, oh, she's dainty. She kind of looks like Fleur. It's like, oh, she's cute and she's dainty, and it's like, how is she ruling with Celestia? They don't even look the same. And then in season 2, they're like, no, this is actually what she's supposed to look like when she has all of her power and her strength back. And it's like, oh, and then she's all yelling at everyone. It's like, oh yeah, she's kind of scary. So we get her being accepted in Ponyville here. It's kind of funny that I guess it was like a year later, but she's like accepted here, and they're like, "Oh, put lace on her," and she's so cute. And then like later when she comes, she's like, "I'm back," and they're like, "That's not the same pony." I also did want to point out that when Celestia makes her first appearance, all of the main 6 bow except for Twilight. Twilight just is like, "Oh, it's Celestia," and she goes up to her and hugs her. Their relationship is pretty crazy, to be honest. Celestia decrees that Twilight is going to stay in Ponyville and live there and research friendship. And that's the end of the series premiere. Pinky comes out and does her little excited thing, but that's essentially the end of the episode. Who would have thought that this would have blown up into such a huge fandom and been legitimately one of the most popular things in the entire world, just for a little while, just from this little kids show that was directed towards, I guess, girls. Lauren Faust obviously is just ridiculous. She knows what she's doing when she's writing stuff, and it brought in a lot of people. This second episode is really good. By itself, it's a 5. It's resolving conflict. It's everything. It's overall, I give them both together a 5. It's just a 5 episode. It's super good. It establishes characters so good. It gives us characters, the main 6 and their personalities, and follows them pretty well. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, and it was the start of something really special.